Hi everyone, Vickieverlie here, Rock and Roll Prophetess, and today we're going to talk about the upcoming nodal shift that's occurring. It's a once every 18 months or so transit. It's the nodes of fate, so there is an element of fate and destiny and pull and what we're striving for and what we're purging. We're going to get into all of that, and then we're going to go through and look at it sign by sign with your ascendant. This comes about every 18 to 19 years, and we have had this cycle before. So it's always when you have these cycles, particularly if it's really aspecting something in your chart, but otherwise, just in general, as a shift in energy, there's a whole vibe that will relate back to these prior times. So here's a few of the last times. It was December 2004 through June of 2006 was the last time that the nodes were in this particular alignment. And prior to that, it was April of 86 through December of 87. And prior to that, it was August of 67 through April of 69. And and so on and so on. It goes back and back. But I just trace it back the first three because that's usually what people can relate to. Another thing is, if you were born during any of those time frames, you're having a nodal return. And a nodal return is a big time check-in if have I aligned with my true soul's calling? Am I aligning? I always use my little illustration with the pens here. We all have this true north or this true soul's calling. That's the north node in our birth chart, for instance. But inevitably, we all veer off the path. We all veer off the path a little bit, and we make these choices. Nobody follows their true soul's calling to 100%, and that's allotted for. But, we go off a little bit, and the next thing you know, we're on this alternative timeline, we're on this alternative path or trajectory, and the further we go down this alternative timeline, the bigger the gap gets from our true north. The further off the path that we will get. So what will happen when these nodes change signs? Bam! It's like the universe is giving us an opportunity to snap back into place, snap back on path, snap back on. It's like a reset, and it affects everybody. And even if you're not having a nodal return, it's affecting your chart in some way, So it's a big shift, and it's a big shift for the collective. So as a collective, we're coming out of the north node being in Taurus, and the south node being in Scorpio here for the last couple years or so. So during this time, well, there's other factors, of course, because we have Uranus in Taurus, and now we have Jupiter in Taurus. But ultimately, our possessions, our money, we've seen a big real estate boom. Real estate prices are going really high. With the Jupiter in Taurus, it's money, it's possessions. But it's also music and creativity. Taurus energy is very musical and creative. So that's kind of what we're all striving for, just as a general sense. And the universe conspires to help us connect with these things, in this sector of our chart or as a collective. And then we're purging the south node, in Scorpio. We're purging, we're leaving behind. It's all that. It's purging, it's leaving behind, but it also can be like, if it's affecting you in your own chart, there can be people that are showing up at these times with the South Node action. These are people that you definitely have had past lives with, depending on, again, where it shows them. If it's in a money sector, it could be somebody who's financially connected with, or, karmic situations. But death, they want to purge them once and for all. Again, I would advise, to look back at these years. What did you end and what did you initiate during these time frames? Because whatever it is, let's just take the North Node, and they go backwards. So it's come all the way full circle. So you can almost think of it as this merry-go-round ride. You've gone all the way, one whole turn on the merry-go-round or the Ferris wheel, and you can get off. You completed that cycle. Whatever was initiated in these other years, do you want to continue on that path, or has it come full circle, and are you ready to really release it? So now, as the nodes are switching from Taurus and Scorpio into the north node in Aries and the south node in Libra, the energy shifts again, okay? So the north node in Aries is more about the individual, being more of I want to try to look at more of the positive things. Of course, there's a positive and negative with every sign, I always say. But some of the positive things with the Aries energy is, being that individual, being that trailblazer, what came up when I was doing one of the full moon readings, it's like just being accountable. You know, not so much blaming the other or coming up with excuses. Being accountable, and me, myself, and I, and things like that. You know, it's just like it all, the man in the mirror. I quoted that Michael Jackson song in one of the videos when that came through, and I got that download. You know, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. It all starts with you. It all comes down to you. Another, you know, Joni Mitchell. It all comes down to you. And that's, you know, stepping into your power is also taking full accountability for your actions, for the circumstances you find yourself in. And, okay, so then the Libra is all about the partnership stuff. So old partners from the past could be coming up, whether they come up, actually show up in your life again, or maybe they'll show up on social media, or maybe they'll just show up, you know, in general, you know, in the world. But it's examining our partnerships, it's losing and you know, maybe releasing some of these partnerships. Codependency, releasing the codependency energy could be a part of it. So it's going to be different for every sign, but practically what I just described was pretty much how it is for Aries. But we're gonna go sign by sign, starting now with Aries. Yeah, so the focus is on you, Aries. This is a good time, and the first house is also, you know, your physical body. Good time to do some kind of big, get back in shape, change your wardrobe. It's also the head. So I always say, you know, well, maybe you want to get something, you know, your hair redone, which, you know, or especially this year as it enters in, because we're going to have all this stuff in Leo, it's a good time to do your hair, change your hairstyle, or, you know, maybe if you do any kind of, you know, cosmetic things, like, you know, that beauty treatments or things like that, things that are going to change your physical appearance, and not just through procedures necessarily, because it can just be you say, you know, wanting, I'm going to good fit. You're, you know, all the power of the Aries energy, all the positive power of that Aries energy that you embody as being an Aries or Aries rising or whatever you're watching for. You know, that will, that determination, that go-get-'em attitude. Go-get-'em attitude. Well, there's the guides. They've arrived, I guess, because sometimes when these guides arrive too, they give me music, but they also give me these old-time expressions a lot. Yeah, this go-get-'em attitude. Yeah, that go-get-'em attitude. The power of the universe is working with you to propel you and to give you that extra oomph, that extra help. The wind beneath your wings, you could almost say. You know, the South Node is in that 7th house of partnerships. People showing up are definitely going to be past life connections. Do you have another go-around with them? Is there another turnaround, another thing we're going to go through? Or have you completed that? Is that complete? Have you completed that cycle and you're ready to release? You're ready to let it go? It can also be just your ideas and attitudes about partnerships, not necessarily the person or any specific person, you know, in that way. Just the, you know, how you relate to other people, or how you view partnerships, or how you view yourself in your relationships. All these sorts of things are going to be changing. Okay, now let's look at the sign of Taurus. I was going to move this, but we'll just move the wheel. So Taurus, it's coming out of your sign and your partnering sign of Scorpio, and now it's moving into your 12th house. So it's time to kind of resonate on and think about how it all went down, because the nodes move backwards, but everything else pretty much moves forward most of the time, right? So you're moving forward. This is stuff that's moving into the past. How was that journey those last 18 months or so with the when the node was in your sign? Coming up with big insights, big downloads, big reflections, the guides are saying. Big reflections on what happened and what went down. Also, this is the house of like spirit guides and protection and angels. You could really feel that presence around. Pay attention to signs and symbols from departed loved ones and things of this nature. The South Node over here is moving into your 6th house. So you may be wanting to change your job. Your job could be winding down. You know, you may be like in the midst of changing career. If you were to decide, and this is only, you know, this, we're looking at this particular snapshot of time. You know, with all the Jupiter and Uranus in your 1st house, you'll be carrying that attraction factor. So if you were thinking about changing jobs, you could probably, you know, you have that attraction factor going on, not from the notes, from other things. But if you want to release that health things, releasing bad habits at this time, quit smoking, quit sugar or dairy or whatever you're trying to quit. I'm not advocating quitting anything specifically, but if there's something that you've been saying, you know, I really need to get off this, you know, this sugar or this different thing, carbs, whatever it might be, this could be the time when you could really pull it off and release, and even release weight too. All right, next we're going to move on to the sign of Gemini, and Gemini, this is going to be up here in your 11th house. So 11th house is time when you want to be involved in groups, networking, more with other people. Well, that's your, that's kind of your jam anyway, Gemini. You're very sociable. That's pretty much how you roll all the time anyway. But, yeah, this doing the social networking, networking for maybe more towards business, but other things. Your the North Node is not just related to business. The North Node is related to anything, your highest, whatever you're striving for. Finding like-minded individuals, because it really, Aries is that energy of the individual. But you, as a group, you can find them. South Node is moving down here into your 5th house of love, romance, children, friendship. Some of you may be finding that your kids are going off to college or leaving if you're of a certain age. And that would make sense, because that would mean they were born 18, 19 years. I mean, not necessarily. Well, yeah, they were born 18, 19 years ago if they're going off to college now. So you were having this same nodal thing. These same 5th house's children was getting activated when they were born, and now it's come full cycle. And that's not, of course, not for everybody, but now they're going to be leaving the nest. It could be like that. Watch that excess. The 5th house and Libra, they're both very much, this Venus energy of excess. Partying is great and fun, and we need party and good times in our life, but you can always take it overboard. So watch out for that excess. Release that. Release anything that would be inhibiting you from having fun or fully enjoying your life, or inhibiting your creativity, which is another thing of the 5th house is about, okay? Next, let's move on to the sign of Cancer. This is, this cardinal energy. Just like the seasonal changes, I always say, you are part of the cardinal cross here, Cancer. It's Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra. That forms the cardinal cross, okay? And the cardinal cross is a square. It's tied to these seasonal changes. We just had your big, at this moment when I'm recording the video, you had this big ingress of we're in the Cancer season right now. And this is actually occurring, this big ingress of the nodes is occurring at the same time, a couple days off of the new moon in Cancer, which I'll also do my regular new moon video, of course. But yeah, so you feel that change by square. And with the sign of Aries, it's kind of, it's fire and water. It's, both can be a little cranky and a little pushy or crabby. There could be a little bit of a conflict, or somebody or something may be pushing you. There was that great old expression, the pain pushes you until the vision pulls you. Well, the pain might be pushing you. Pain is a strong word, but you know what I mean? You may have come up against some bossy type of thing in your job or career. But if that's the case, because these are the nodes of fate, that's just trying to push you to maybe do a little thing. You may be called to let go of this 4th house energy. You're being called to let go of and release in the 4th house, where you've planted yourself. Where you've planted, maybe it's in your job, maybe it's in your neighborhood or an area that you live in. It can also be a great time to purge 4th house issues, are things having to do with your how you were raised, those imprints that were made on you in your early life and how you were raised, and those belief systems that no longer serve you as you become more of the individual, which the Aries energy is always pulling us to be more of our individual, okay? All right, next let's move on to the signs of Leo. Not the signs of Leo, just the sign of Leo. Okay, and then what is this? It's supposed to be your 7th, 8th, 9th house. So the North Node has moved into your 9th house. That travel is the strongest thing that comes through. It rules travel, it rules higher education, spiritual quests. But the travel is really going out there, and they're saying travel in the broader sense. Travel through your mind, new pathways of discovery, expanding your horizons. Some of this is probably specific to somebody out there, but many Leos and Leo risings are performers, or in the arts and are performers. Somebody's going to get to go and play or perform at some foreign country that doesn't let a lot of people in. Like Russia comes to mind, but that doesn't feel right when I say it out. Or maybe even China or something like that. Country that doesn't really let a lot of people in. It feels like somebody's going to get a really, this great opportunity to go perform there in whatever sense. Could be, I always think of, rock and music and bands, but it could be a ballet, it could be a theater, it could be gymnastics, who knows? It could just be a lot of different things, but, and it feels like there's a lot of prestige to it. Now that's, of course, not going to apply to everybody. But yeah, ninth house, expanding your horizon, expanding what you think is possible, what you deem is possible. They're kind of using that maybe as a metaphor even, you're at this country, oh, well, nobody gets to go play there, it's a closed off thing, and then it changes. Don't limit yourself in any way. The South Node is, in the third house here, and that is communication. The strongest thing that comes forward is, it could be your neighbors, it could be your siblings, it's short distance travel, it's your car, and those kind of things, reading, writing books, emails, texts, all that stuff. But the words that you carry with you are strong. Who told you you couldn't expand your life? There's an opportunity to expand your life beyond any limiting beliefs. This could be very strong for releasing those limiting beliefs and letting those go. Those thoughts or those things, the wagging of the finger. You can't do that, blah, 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 blah. That authoritarian souls, making you small words. Release those words. And then I'm getting also forgive yourself, Leo, where if you've said harsh words were spoken. Maybe you regret what you say. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for your misdeeds or misspoken words or things like that. Okay, Virgo, the North Node is going to be in your 8th house. That's joint finances, that's death and taxes. But really, I feel the strongest, and especially with the sign of Aries, that is the house of sexual attraction. So it doesn't necessarily have to be accompanied by love, passion, sexual attraction. It's also, money, investors, business, money from a business partner, things like that. So you may be, the universe, the whole thing with this whole nodal thing here is that we've got to pay attention and really see what the universe is presenting, because the universe will present different for everybody. But just be aware, and when you follow what the universe is presenting, then you get in the flow and it goes much easier. But I do feel like for many of you, reawakened passion, or even if you're in a long-term relationship and maybe the sex has been waning, the sexual energy, you may feel that and really invigorated again. Passionate about something, perhaps partnering with somebody on a business level or something like that. Letting go of old ideas, South Node and Libra in your 2nd house, letting go of old ideas about money and finance. Again, about what's possible. Aries is always going to blaze those new trails, And Libra's just kind of like, oh, I don't know. It's, they want to be nice. They don't want to hurt anybody. Or just, I'll be a team player, always, kind of, you can be, and that's great. And people need to cooperate and need to be team players. But it can be a little bit, not assertive, you know what I mean? So falling away for any kind of financial things that you've settled for, but also I want to go more a lot with the beliefs. I really am back to that beliefs. Any beliefs that you have that this maybe, even if it's never been done before, doesn't mean it can't be done. The Aries is ready to blaze those new trails. Okay, next we're going to move on to the sign of Libra. So Libra, you have this North Node in your 7th house of partnerships. So you are definitely going to be, on that, attracting partners of all sorts, attracting new friends, attracting interesting people is what I'm getting. People that you're interested in, that are very interesting and have a lot of common with you. I'm getting something about books, that like the same books as you, or perhaps, if there's, maybe you meet them at a bookstore or library or somewhere where there's books. But there's this strong attraction and this strong passion, and there's a strong, you have that drive anyway. Being a Libra, you are the 7th house, you are the sign of partnerships. So you're always striving for that in your life anyway. But a lot could, and the people that are showing up in this manner, presenting themselves as potential partners on whatever level, business, relationship, friendships, these are going to be these, when the nodes of fate, these are these fated interactions, these are these fated karmic relationships. Purging any beliefs about yourself, purging any, like shedding your skin. I'm really getting this shedding your skin. I need to write that down because for some other stuff I'm doing, shedding skin. Shedding skin of the old you, anything that doesn't suit you anymore or doesn't fit you anymore. It's time to let it go. It's time to purge it. This could also be a good time to lose weight or start a diet also with that South Node, if that's something you're wanting to do, you know, release it off of the physical body. All right, Scorpio and Scorpio risings. Now, you guys have had this South Node in your, and me too, I've had it in my first house, and now it's going to move into the 12th where it's going to get more quiet. What I'm getting, I want us to jump to I know I usually do the North Node first, but I'm really getting a lot about this South Node here. I want to tell us that while it was in your first house and leading up to this, you know, it was a lot about self-examination, which Scorpio does all the time anyway. Scorpios are always, you know, they're always examining psychological things, and, you know, they're always going into those deep, dark corners and figuring things out. But now it's time to like offer it up to the universe and just kind of give it to the universe and sort of hand, because the 12th house is your spirit guides and angels, and just kind of hand it off to your spirit guides and angels. People showing up when the South Node and the 12th house, like in the natal chart when I do the soul readings, that's definitely a major past life connection. People from your past, even in this incarnation, could be showing up, but and beyond, you know, even more so past life stuff. Hand it off to your spirit guides. Some of you, it's your ancestors. Hand it off to those ancestors. All the stuff the nitty-gritty stuff and the things that you've realized about yourself as you relate to other people over these last couple of years. Now it's like, okay, I've dug all this stuff up. Hand it off to your higher power and move forward in the new phase of your life. So the North Node down here is in your 6th house, so good time for health regimens again. Maybe starting that diet. Not so much, it's more of what you're striving for. So building, you know, building your muscle, building your body up. Could be a good time to get a new pet, because the 6th house also rules over pets. So I'm picking that up for somebody. For somebody's going to get a little dog with a lot of hair. A little hairy dog. I don't want those little, you know, those little high-pitched barks. You know, my dogs are, whew. I always like the bigger dogs. Well, for protection, even I feel safe with a good watchdog. You know what I mean? But anyways, beyond that, let's go. Yeah, so getting a new pet, doing some kind of new health thing, new eating thing, trying some new foods. I'm getting that even if these things you've tried before, and it's just like, oh yeah, I tried that food thing and it didn't really work for me, or blah blah blah. With the energy of this things, and it could be even a health regimen or anything else. With this node being in the 6th house, you'll be led to alignment with the right thing. Or maybe if it didn't work in the past, it could work for you now. Okay? Next, we're going to take a look at the sign of Sagittarius. So the sign of Sagittarius, you have, this is your 5th house, right? Yeah. It's the 5th house. Let me double check this. 4th, 5th, yeah. I got a little confused there. Yeah. Yeah. 5th house, so that's where your North Node is. So you're being called to have more fun. I mean, who doesn't? Who has more fun than Sagittarius? But yeah, Sagittarius wants to have fun, or the 5th house wants to have fun, and Sag, you're down for that. Sports, activities, sports comes through really strong. I know many Sagittarius enjoy sports and are athletic themselves. Fun and games, children, creativity. Creativity came through big time. And they're putting it together like something that was just for fun. It could really turn into something. Like you could really get serious about something that was just like, oh, you know, I always like to go to whatever. I'm seeing like where you go to those pottery places and paint the ceramic, you know, paint the glaze on the ceramic. Well, maybe you're going to like take it a step further and really start learning ceramics. I mean, that's not for everybody, but things like that. Something like, oh yeah, that's always a fun thing to do. Let's go do this thing for fun. But then it turns into something that you're going to really take serious and really can make a lot of strides toward. 11th house is the release, you know, so we're releasing old friends and groups. You know what I'm getting too? I feel like for some of you, whatever this is that I was just picking up, like I picked up the painting, I used the painting as the pottery as the example, but it could be a lot of things. I think a lot of your friends might make fun of you about it, or just be like, you know, so maybe, you know, you don't have to tell them, or maybe you can find a new group of friends or something like that. Releasing imposed things that were impressed or imposed on you by the group, by your tribe, your generational tribe, your tribe of family, your peers, and your school. That, you know, maybe you're going to really be more of the individual, and be more creating your life in this way, and not so concerned about what all the other people say anymore, you know. Okay. All right, next we're going to move on to the sign of Capricorn. Again, we're activating this cardinal cross here, okay? We've got the Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, Aries. Excuse me. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water. So part of the cardinal cross, one second. So squares. Squares make things happen. Yours is down in the 4th house, though. So it's kind of reining it back in. Now, in the flat wheel, you rule the 10th house. So this is kind of the opposite. They want you to, you're always, Capricorns are always out there in that 10th house sector, striving for that gold, that brass ring, trying to make it in the world and be successful and climb the mountains and everything. And this time they're like, let's dial it back. Let's release a lot of that. You've made a lot of strides. You've made a lot of progress, Capricorn. I know you have. I know you have. And now let's direct it back to home. Home, family, foundation. You went out there and you've been a success in the world. Now you can release some of that. And you can, with this South Node being there, I'm feeling like release a lot of the pressure that accompanies that too. There's a lot of pressure accompanied with striving. You can relax a little more and then be more in a home environment, connect more with the family. Maybe for some of you, if you build that dream home or do that big remodel or redecorate, or if you do that garden, that thing that you've always wanted to do around the home. But not only about the physical structure of the home as far as the building and the garden and all that, but the people. Sometimes when we're striving, we lose sight of that. We can lose sight of that. So it's time of connecting back with, or feeling that family, feeling that home and family vibe, okay? Okay, next we have Aquarius. The North Node is going to be down here in your 3rd house, communication. You can really get your point across. 3rd and 9th house, this is publishing. If any of you are ever going to do that publishing, if you were ever going to publish that book or publish that song or publish that blog, in these days, and especially in the sign of Aries, we can do it ourselves. We don't need to get signed to the record label. We don't need to get signed to a publisher. We don't need that outward, to be a part of anything. We can put our own stuff out there, and we can do it in a way that we really want to do it, in our own individual way. We can do it in our own words, which is always better, isn't it? When somebody else gets in there and mucks it up, they don't see your vision, then, so you could be releasing ideas about that, about, oh, I need a publisher, I need this or that, but releasing 9th house too, travel, spiritual beliefs. Sometimes this could be really, with this whole Aries energy too, it could be, this spiritual beliefs that were very, stifling or confining, that many of us grew up with. Some of the strict, as we go, the churches are getting more and more, well, particular, let's just use the Catholic Church, the Pope, now it's okay for this or that, they give they give their okay. Well, you don't need their okay. But also just releasing that, that whole thing, that whole paradigm of, well, it's that my church said I can't do it, or I was taught that it was this. Things that you were taught that don't serve you in today's world, or don't serve your individual of who you really are, of being who you really want to be, skating away. Maybe you're going to go skating. What is that? 1,000,000 generations of being who you really want to be. So be who you really want to be. That's the message for everybody, with the Aries. Be who you really want to be. Okay, finally we're going to look at the Pisces energy. These are in your money house accesses. The North Node is in your 2nd house of money. You've got Saturn in your 1st house at this moment too, and will be, I believe, for the duration of this nodal transit. The Saturn will stay in that 1st house pretty much the whole time, if not the whole time. I don't have my ephemeris right in front of me, but the universe, I know I love you, Pisces. I got Jupiter in Pisces. I got Neptune in the 1st house. I'm very Piscean. I'm very spiritual, creative. I'm swimming in that soup with you, Pisces. I really am. But the universe is kind of guiding you and directing you to kind of put down some roots or get some kind of foundations in your life with the Saturn in the 1st, and then also this North Node in your 2nd house of money. That's going to open the door. That's going to show you the way to get more financial security in your life, have a better foundation in your life. and just be, get that foothold in the 3D reality, because we all need money. I know it's great to be dreamy, hippie, spiritual person. I'm like I said, I'm right there with you, man. I'm with you, Pisces. But there's responsibilities and stuff that have to be taken care of, and that's going to be really prevalent with the combination of the Saturn in the first and the North Node in the second. But what's cool about the North Node in the second, that's going to be showing you those ways, showing you those, opening those doors, aligning you with these opportunities, people, or whatever it might be. Some of you may be North Node and South Node in the 8th house. Some of you may be breaking away from old financial combinations or partnerships or paradigms. Or some of you maybe are going to finally pay off your student loan or pay off your mortgage or something. That could go happen. Well, if you're focusing a little bit more on your financial, getting that in order, then maybe it's like, hey, if I could pay this off, you could, once you got to sit down and really figure it out, or sit down with someone, this could be that too. And if there's some of you might be changing those someones. Maybe you're going to change your accountant, or change your bank, or change your, if there's an investor but they're trying to put too much power over your creativity, or wanting to steer the ship where you don't want it to go, then you may just say, you know what, I think I'm gonna look for something new, something more stable and substantial with Saturn the first. You can't. That's what you gotta. Even though Aries is so impulsive and everything, even at this moment and during this whole transit, the strongest thing in the Pisces arena is Saturn in your sign. So, look into your finances, get them in order, release old paradigm things that are constricting. Allow for things to really do things. You take the reins. You take the reins of the steer the ship in your direction, the direction you want it. That's what they keep telling me, steering that ship. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Now, I don't have any astrology readings available, but I do have the soul reading, which does look at the nodes heavily and how it relates to past life and your karma and everything like that. So if you're interested in the nodal reading, learning more about the nodes in a deeper way, I do have that reading available. So do check it out if you're interested. Have a great upcoming week. There's going to be a lot of shifts and changes coming up. And remember, again, back to those dates. And here they are again. December of 2004 through June of 2006. April of 86 through December of 87. And August of 67 through April of 69. Those are the dates. We had these similar energies. It's never going to be exactly the same because the other planetary things are a little bit different. But you may, by focusing back and thinking back on those times, you may gain valuable insights as to what's going on now. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.